and welcome to Season 2 of At My Desk, long awaited, I hope. And we are going to start off this new season with a conversation that I kind of alluded to or hinted at during Season 1, and that is the subject of UFO disclosure. Now, this is something that has been a hot button issue among UFO researchers for many, many years. Now, what do I mean by disclosure? UFO disclosure, quite simply, is the term that we use for the idea that there will be official acknowledgement from someone in the government, some government official, publicly acknowledging that, number one, UFOs do indeed exist, which, quite frankly, most of us are well past that. And that number two, that there is an extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence interacting with the human race. And that's it. That's what we mean by disclosure, UFO disclosure. Now, of course, among UFO researchers, there are many different camps which take many different positions on many different aspects of this phenomenon. And there is a school of thought, there is a camp of UFO researchers who are not just saying that, disclosure is coming, but they're actually pushing for disclosure. There are various individuals and various groups who have mounted several campaigns, some of them quite impressive, getting signatures on petitions, contacting the White House, contacting various members of Congress, various members of the Senate, individuals who sit on influential committees and what forth, largely to no avail. And I think this is for a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't think the people that the disclosure proponents are approaching really know anything about this issue, and politically don't view it as having any upside. And so that is why I have taken the position that disclosure as defined and hoped for and pushed for by the disclosure advocates just isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I'm saying this as an individual who understands that UFOs do indeed exist and most likely represent an extraterrestrial presence. I don't think that that day is coming. And when you listen to the advocates of disclosure, let me describe to you what the ultimate disclosure event would be. You have some government official, perhaps a general or some impressive military figure, or perhaps even the president coming on television. The networks breaking into your regularly scheduled programming. The president coming up to a podium, tapping onto the microphone, and saying, my fellow Americans, for 60-something years, we have been aware that UFOs, unidentified flying objects, flying saucers, whatever you want to call them, under the control, being piloted by extraterrestrial beings, have been coming to and from Earth all these years. And we have been looking at this, we have been examining them, We have been talking with these aliens. We have been exchanging technologies. We've been back engineering alien technology. La 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 la. And so from now on, please understand that the aliens are here. Don't get excited. Please keep going to work and paying your bills and watching the baseball games. And now I'll sign off, and you can return to your regularly scheduled program. Okay, that's the quintessential disclosure event that is hoped for. It's not going to happen. And I know some of the disclosure people are very well-meaning, have a great deal of integrity. They work very hard to push for this because what they're pushing for is indeed the right thing. Okay? So let's not get that twisted. I am in no way, shape, or form unnecessarily critiquing their motivation. I believe what's motivating them is positive. But having said that, it's just not going to go anywhere. I know there are new projects afoot, and each time one of these disclosure projects, one of these disclosure efforts comes down the road, you notice that they've tweaked the wording in an effort to use the government's own language against it. We know, for example, that the government has stated many times that UFOs do not represent a threat to national security. Now, of course, if you listen to that carefully, nowhere in there did they state that UFOs don't exist. They just said they don't represent a threat to national security. In fact, you could reasonably read into that they are admitting that they do exist. Yes, they exist, but they're not a threat. So we're certainly not going to look into this any further. So, they've tried to use that against them. Now, I don't know what the new angle will be, but I'll say this. Look, I feel that the disclosure people have sufficiently and effectively shown government duplicity on this issue. Now, if there are some of you watching who don't really know what I'm talking about, and if you are one of those individuals who is perhaps inclined not to think that there's anything to this, I would invite you to look a little bit deeper. I know that when you're looking around on the internet, you'll see a lot of garbage and a lot of junk and a lot of nonsense. But if you kind of filter some of that out, there is some very good information out there. If you research individuals like Stanton Friedman or Richard Dolan, for example, these are two very well-respected researchers who have some very level-headed ideas about what's going on. And I can tell you, there are things going on. Now, I realize that, most of us have busy lives. You have to go to work. You have to pick the kids up from school. You have to go to Little League. You have to go to this, and you have this meeting and that, and where everybody's working to pay bills and make the budget. And we have busy lives, busy, fast-paced lives. And so it's not easy to really get down into the minutia of a subject like this unless you have a hardcore interest. And yes, if you go to YouTube, you can find fake and hoaxed UFO videos. But having a fake UFO video does not mean that UFOs do not exist. It simply means that someone with a lot of time on their hands wanted to create something to entertain people and to perhaps try to show everyone how clever they can be. But that's a side issue. The point is that the disclosure event, as hoped for, is not coming, with these provisos, caveats, and exceptions. There could be a UFO event. There could be a UFO event that is on such a scale and seen by so many people from so many different perspectives and directions and captured on video and photograph from so many angles and again from so many perspectives, it will essentially be an event that it won't be able to be contained. There will not be the ability to put a spin on it. Oh, it was temperature inversion, or it was ball lightning, or some of these other, ridiculous, from the debunker's playbook. Okay, and it will just be. It may be something that's captured by one or more news agencies. And of course, nowadays, these type of things can be shot all the way around the world instantly with email and with Twitter and Facebook and all of the different social media outlets. And of course, we have something like a critical mass. And then you might see people in officialdom being forced. Their hand would be forced at that point. And of course, there's a couple of outcomes. They would probably end up saying something like, okay, yes, here it is, and X, Y, and Z. Or, and I think this, I tend to lean toward this outcome. They may view this as an opportunity to get themselves off the hook and say, oh my God, who would ever have thought? We've been taken totally by surprise. Which, in fact, in a lot of cases would be the truth. Because bear in mind, when we say the government, again, look, there are people sitting in the Congress. There are people sitting in the Senate. There are people in our military, people at the Pentagon, who don't know anything about this. Honestly, they don't know anything about it, and they would be aghast to find out that it's all true. Now, there are people who are in the military, and there are people who have been in the military, and they have this silly notion that, oh, if this was going on, I would know about it. But this is just, this can be chalked up to, it's human nature to have this occasional overblown sense of importance. You get the same thing from the scientific community. You hear astronomers and other people in those sciences who say, well, I've been looking through a telescope for 40 years and I've never seen a UFO. So if UFOs were flying, I'd know. That's ridiculous, of course, because just because you've been looking through a telescope, doesn't necessarily mean you were looking for, you have to be looking for things sometimes. I mean, the odds of seeing a UFO under normal circumstances are rare. If you're looking through a telescope just fixed on a certain point, or looking at this star, or looking over here at this nebula, or whatever, So a lot of the people in the military, the lion's share of the people in the military, the majority of people at NASA, the majority of people in the scientific community, the vast majority of those people don't know anything about this. So that's why we have to be careful when we throw around the word cover-up. Because the fact that we're talking about it now means there's not really a cover-up per se. What I think has happened over the decades is that the information has been strategically managed. And information management is as effective, or in some cases more effective, than trying to suppress it and cover it up. Because when you think about it, covering up is hard. It takes a lot of resources, takes a lot of manpower. But if you can manage the information, for example, the way it's been managed with the press has been stunning. How many times have you seen a UFO report on a news channel and the anchors or reporters cannot get through the report without a chuckle or without a tongue-in-cheek remark, or they pipe in the Star Wars music? This is an example of information management, because these people of the press have been conditioned to regard this as a laughable subject that we do 5 minutes before the end of our broadcast. Information management. Same thing with the major newspaper, you know, the New York Times of the world, the Washington Posts of the world. Now we know what kind of power the media has and what they can dig up and what they can uncover and what they can get down to. And that's why it's been critical to properly manage this information. Because if the major news organizations got their claws legitimately into this issue and went at it hardcore, the way you know that they can, it would be over in about a week. It would be over in about a week. Now, we have seen some progress in this area. We do see more legitimate press coverage, more legitimate articles, but nowhere near where it needs to be. So, the idea of UFO disclosure is not going to happen until and unless we have a major, undeniable UFO event of such a magnitude that the nature of it cannot be managed. The information about it, the facts about it, cannot be managed, cannot be curtailed, cannot be reduced down to the level of a humorous soundbite or an amusing little satirical anecdote. So, I want you to be sure to tune in to the next installment of At My Desk. Listen, you can email me at drwilliamlester@aol.com. I welcome your comments. Send me your show suggestions, topics you'd like me to cover on the program, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll see if we can find something that we can schedule for future shows. But for now, that's all for today. Thank you for viewing. Good night, and I'll see you on the next edition of At My Desk.